Good evening, everyone. Humanity has survived with the advantage of a stable climate for the past thousands of years. But today, due to the mindless and reckless overexploitation of our natural resources, we've been facing some severe brunt of climate changes to the point where we actually afford for our very survival. The decisions we make today will decide the future and well-being of humanity for years to come. Till date, and I'm sure most of us will agree with me on this, we've been very selfish with using our natural resources in the past because not even once have we thought about the kind of future our children and the future generations would be facing. The current alarming state of our planet has made the youth of today take a stance and finally claim what's rightfully theirs. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ria, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the PIC's Youth Manifesto launch event created and organized by the Energy, Environment, and Climate Change Group. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our chief guest for the day, Advocate Srimati Vandana Chavan, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, and the former Mayor of Pune. Ms. Chavan has been active in the environmental space and have taken a lot of initiatives herself on different environmental issues such as climate change, air pollution, social issues, and so on. On the occasion of World Environment Day and to mark this launch of the Youth Manifesto, I would request Professor Amitav Malik to present a small token of appreciation to our chief guest. Thank you and welcome to the event, ma'am. I would now like to introduce our other dignitaries on the dais, Professor Amitav Malik, Padma Shri, who is a retired laser scientist and a former member of the National Security Advisory Board. He is also the trustee at Pune International Center and heads the Energy, Environment and Climate Change Group. Dr. Vijay Kerkar, Padma Vibhushan, and Vice President at Pune International Center. He is an eminent economist with a deep expertise in national and international policy. Let us now welcome our special youth speakers for the day. Prithviraj Lingayat, he is a researcher at EECCPIC and is also pursuing his law studies from ILS. Ms. Purnima Agarkar, who is the Secretary at Indian Network of Ethics and Climate Change, and Mr. Tanmay Kanetkar, who is the co-founder and Parivartan Group. We are extremely grateful to have such a strong panel today, and we are looking forward to the launch of this event and hearing the views on the manifesto. I would now request Professor Amitav Malik to give his welcoming remarks as we begin the launch for the day.
नमस्कार and welcome. आम्ही आधी ठरवलं होतं की हा प्रोग्राम मराठीत करायचा आणि कारण हे सगळं आता पुण्यात व्हायला पाहिजे आणि पुण्यातलं बहुतेक गोष्टी आपण मराठीत करतो पण given that PIC is a very cosmopolitan organization and बरेचसे लोक they prefer English in terms of understanding, absorbing वगैरे. So with the permission of the chair, Dr. Kelkar, I'll switch to English. So first of all, greetings of the World Environment Day 2022 to everybody, to all of us, to our Earth, Mother Earth, and of course, welcome to you all. Mostly, Vandanaji. She is a climate activist, almost bordering a single person climate activist, and we could not have got anybody better for this function. This function is unique because other than discussing policies and other things, we are actually trying to highlight what the youth wants. We are aware that the youth today is far more aware, far more informed, far better informed, thanks to all the technology and everything. And what is happening around us, the destruction of the earth, the evaporation of opportunities, it is all caused by my generation or the previous generation. The previous generations have been using enormous amount of energy, largely from fossil fuels. And so this is a man-made disaster that we have created, where the fossil fuel accumulation is becoming a danger. Unfortunately, we live in a society where the GDP numbers get the prominent. So we almost are completely aware where the GDP number is going, fractionally up, fractionally down, and all that stuff. It's as if it's a magic number. Unfortunately, carbon emission, CO2 emission, and even pollution very often is invisible. And not only that, it is cumulative. So this has been growing quietly without any notice, and now we have come to a stage where carbon concentration, CO2 concentration in the air has crossed almost 420 ppm, as against 275 ppm, almost double level. Which means what? Which means what? Even if we start, say, tomorrow is Environment Day, and we stop all emissions, even then, with the emission that is already there at the rate of about 50 gigaton GHG emission every year, this temperature will keep on rising, and the 2-degree centigrade that we are talking about politically and everywhere else, we will cross it. It's a question of matter of time. So we are at a period where what we do in the next 10 years, and this has been talked about by IPCC, is very critical to what can happen in the future. Of course, the youth is aware of it. Their anxiety levels are increasing exponentially. And to give that voice is why we are doing this so-called the manifesto of the youth for climate secure future. It's as if they're asking for something very special, climate secure future. We're forgetting that all of our generation, we always have climate secure future. And that's all they're asking. So we will learn more as we go through it. I will not take too much time. So may I request our chief guest to release the report, and then we can get on with it.
Let us give a big round of applause to this special moment.
This is printed both in English and Marathi.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I'm delighted to share with you all that our Deputy Chief Minister, Shri Ajit Pawar, has sent his personal wishes to the Team ECC on the launch of the Youth Manifesto. I would like to read out a few lines from this letter. Pune International Centre is an established and international think tank, which is planning to mark the World Environment Day 2022 with the release of India's Youth Manifesto for Earth Environment, both in Marathi and English, which is extremely remarkable. The manifesto hopefully will act as a socio-political instrument that can urgently do what the nation needs. This manifesto is also hopeful of making common citizens aware as to what actions are necessary to safeguard our collective future, especially the future of the younger generations. My best wishes to the launch of the Youth Manifesto and the picture book on environment for school children for early awareness on this emerging issue which will affect the youth and priorities of people in near future. I would now request Prithviraj, the brain and energy behind creating this Youth Manifesto, to come forward and share his views on the same. This presentation will be followed by a brief conversation with our young speakers. And over to you, Prithviraj.
I hope I'm audible. Namaste to all. Today I'll be presenting the manifesto in front of you. But before that, I'd like to make this presentation a little more interactive because essentially it's a manifesto, it's a document of the people. So please focus on the question on your screens right now. Is global warming purely an environmental issue? This basically means, is global warming just affecting the polar bears in the Arctic? Is it just affecting some animals or killing some animals? Is it just some issue to be solved by the Environment Ministry or government environmental departments? Any answers would be welcome. English, Marathi. No, it is not. It's not. It's essentially a social, economic, political, and humanitarian issue. I would also go ahead to say that it is the biggest existential threat to humanity right now. And this might sound like an overstatement to some people. But in order to prove my point, I would like to take you all to a small journey a small journey to visualize what my lifetime or the lifetime of my generation would look like. So I was born in 2000, the year 2000. And in the year 2000, I don't think any one of you also heard the terms global warming or climate change. Did you? You did not. And in the last 22 years, this issue has become the biggest existential threat to humanity. How has this exponential risen and how will it go ahead in the future? So in just the next 8 years, that is in the year 2030, the catastrophe that has already begun will set off to a great extent. It is estimated that 9 crore Indians will go hungry due to food and water shortage. There are many countries in this world who don't even have the population of 9 crore people. So you are just getting the magnitude of how big this issue is. We would witness an ice-free Arctic. 18 to 30% of coral reefs will be lost, which means the ocean's carbon absorption capacity will reduce drastically. And why all this? Because of a staunch disregard for science. If this is sounding like a science fiction movie, it's just a coincidence. I'm not doing it on purpose. In the year 2050, there will be chaos all around. The world would be marked by floods, droughts, fires, community conflicts, poverty, hunger. Just remember the floods that happened in Pune 2 to 3 years ago. How big a havoc was that? Just imagine the whole nation and many other countries suffering from these issues regularly. Achieving economic aspirations would become impossible. But this realization would come so late that it would be futile to even think about it. In the year 2100, I'll be 100 years old. And if I am alive, this world would be unrecognizable to me. Why? Because the world would have reached 4 degrees Celsius threshold. Our hustling, bustling towns like Mumbai, Chennai, who are on the coast right now, would have disappeared due to sea level rise. And desertification and droughts would make millions of climate refugees flee. The complexity and unpredictability of climate change would increase so much that we could not even comprehend how big this catastrophe can become. So I'm really sorry to paint such a gloomy picture in front of your eyes. But just think from the point of view of my generation. How much would be our anxiety level right now, thinking about our future? Thinking about how many problems would we have to face in our future and challenges. Now, there is an impending need to move away from the phrase climate change is real. And we need to move towards getting educated about climate change, getting to know what the solutions are and demanding the solutions. And that is exactly where this manifesto comes in. So the genesis of this manifesto came from the research that we do year-long in the EECC vertical of Pune International Center, and the idea was shaped in the last Pune International Center Climate Conference. In our research, we basically realized that the science and analysis or knowledge about climate change is actually there. I'm sure all the people in this room must have heard the organization IPCC. You might not know what the report is all about, but you have at least heard what is IPCC. The science of climate change is clear. The technology and innovation is there to replace our ailing fossil fuel industry. But yet, even the opportunities to finance in form of investing in green companies, green businesses, or desubsidizing fossil fuels and subsidizing renewable energy, or more such things are possible, yet still why no climate action? This is the question that grappled us. Anyone wants to take a guess? Still why no climate action, even after established science, technology and finance? Please.
Lack of intent.
Lack of intent by?
The government.
Thanks for the answer. That's why. Lack of political will was the actual problem, actual challenge that we encountered, the actual bottleneck between acting for climate change and not acting for climate change. Political will is extremely essential for climate action, and this Youth Manifesto essentially aims to politicize the urgent issues of global warming, climate change, and mindless environmental exploitation. What do we mean by politicize? By politicize, we thought, and even this idea was concurred by the Honorable Environment Minister of Maharashtra, who himself said that climate change must be responsibly politicized by this generation in order to make some action happen in the climate space. So, by politicize, we basically mean educating people about it, and therefore this manifesto can spread awareness and make people aware of what are the solutions to climate change in a very simple language. That way a layman can also understand what do they need to do and what do they need to hold their political representatives accountable about. But you may now ask that this should be a people's manifesto. Why is this a youth manifesto, right? So why it is a youth manifesto? The simple answer is we, my generation, doesn't have time. आता सोपा विचार करा. तुम्हा सगळ्यांना अशी कोणतीच गोष्ट नव्हती की म्हणजे यातली थोड्या तरी गोष्टी तुम्हाला आधीपासून माहित होत्या की कसं इको फ्रेंडली आयुष्य आपण जगू शकतो, काय काय गोष्टी आपण करू शकतो, ईव्ही चालवा, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, रिन्युएबल एनर्जी वापरा. पण किती लोक रोजच्या आपल्या आयुष्यात या सगळ्या गोष्टींचा वापर करतात, कॉन्शियसली वापर करतात, की माझ्याकडे कार आहे तरी मी पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्ट वापरेनच. हा निश्चय कोणी केलाय का? की आम्ही बायसिकल वापरेनच. हा नाही केला. का नाही केला? The simple answer is that this generation has the luxury to wait and watch because some other people are suffering, I am not suffering. But eventually, due to climate change, as it transcends all boundaries of nations, religion, etc., it is going to be a bigger problem for my generation. We do not have the luxury to wait and watch till this catastrophe increases exponentially. Also, my generation, as I have seen, has the potential and creativity and determination to change. Connecting to what Professor Malik already mentioned, that everything is based on GDP numbers, quarterly GDP, yearly GDP, competition between GDPs of countries. Why are we not creating more holistic indices to measure the country's progress? These indices, such measures can be created by my generation. And in the end, addressing the priorities of the youth is essentially addressing the priorities of the humanity, because we are the people who are eventually going to be the citizens of tomorrow. So this is the Arc for Life framework. You can look at it afterwards also. And these are the 7 major sectors that we need to act on. This is what we got from our research. की ह्या 7 गोष्टींवर जर आपण ऍक्ट केलं तर क्लायमेट सिक्युअर फ्युचरच्या पण पुढे जाऊन आपण एक चांगलं जग बसवू शकतो माझ्या जनरेशनसाठी. सो these 7 actions, for example, electrification of all our appliances. पेट्रोल गाड्या वापरण्यापेक्षा इलेक्ट्रिक गाड्या वापरा. But it doesn't end there. It has to be looked at with the second sector, that is decarbonization. That is, use renewable energy to charge your electrified appliances. So these are the thoughts that are mentioned, these are the demands that are mentioned in the manifesto in the form of 10 demands. Now coming to the main crux of the matter, that is the manifesto, the Youth Manifesto for a climate secure future. So या manifesto मध्ये नक्की आहे काय? So to answer that, this manifesto addresses the rationale for rapid climate action. Nowadays you go to anyone and say ki okay, climate action झालं पाहिजे is established to a certain level, but rapid climate action झालं पाहिजे. That is where the question is. Why? Because of the narrative that environmental consciousness or development of environment or climate action is detrimental to the economy. This exact narrative has been challenged in the manifesto. We are saying the opposite. No climate action will mean no economic aspirations. So that is the rationale for rapid climate action that is addressed in the manifesto. The manifesto presents what are the priorities of the youth. As I mentioned, we don't want GDP rise. It is not benefiting me in any way. It is resource exploitation is actually taking away my future in front of my eyes. We want more holistic development patterns, more holistic development measures and indices. It also sets sensible and practical targets. So everyone must know the targets that India has set in the COP26 conference, right? You have heard about it. Was there any discussion prior to it or after it? Who is going to live in 2070? It's my generation who is going to live in 2070. Do we want to wait till now? Till 2070? 50 years from now? We don't want to wait. Our politicians need to understand that our targets don't define how the climate system works. The climate system should define how our targets are made. That's why 2047 is the target that we are aiming for. In carbon neutral India by 2047, that is the 100th year of independence, was suggested by Professor Amitav Malik. It is the right kind of motivation that my generation needs right now. The fourth point, it also sets what are the foundations that are needed, that we need to establish in the future. Because, for example, the manifesto mentions we need to have integrated development policies. Currently what is happening, development is happening in silos. Environment department won't work with the energy department. How will we decarbonize? So in future, multiple stakeholders, not just government stakeholders, but the business arena, the NGOs need to work together in order to establish sustainable foundations and make integrated developmental policies. And essentially the demands of the youth for climate secure future. So everyone must have the leaflet with them, right? So you have the 10 demands in front of you. You can go through them. On the second page of the leaflet, you will find a QR code to scan the whole manifesto. And in this manifesto, there are 10 demands that are presented on your screen. I'd like to mention in detail the 7th demand. It's my favorite. So, in the 7th demand, we demand change in governance, policies and political will. What do you mean by that? A simple demand is, political parties need to have climate action in their party manifesto for elections. And that must be pushed by our citizens. Political parties must nominate youth, that is people under 35, to Rajya Sabha. And I'm sure our honorable MP, Advocate Ms. Vandana. Sorry. No, but I'm sure you would prefer younger colleagues with you who are concerned about the climate as well. So such changes, such demands are put in place, and if you go through the manifesto, the demands are structured in a very, very simple way that everyone can understand. The demands basically encapsulate this arc for life. What is life? Life means a livable earth, an inclusive earth, a future-proof earth, and an ecologically mindful earth or ecologically mindful population. So these demands basically encapsulate what my generation needs right now. But the thing about climate change is, it cannot be done just by the government. It has to be you and me who is into this transition. And therefore, the most important thing that we ask from the people, the citizens, is please make this manifesto an election agenda. Unless and until that is done, unless and until it is pushed in the political discourse, there would be no climate action. Citizens must also hold their political representatives accountable for action. We have a very able speaker today, Mr. Tanmay Kanetkar. I think he would be better to talk about this issue than me. But using this manifesto, this is a unique idea that occurred to us. Even though we are presenting this manifesto, releasing this manifesto in Pune, this is not meant to stay in Pune. Recently, I had gone to the Himalayas, and there I met people who are extremely worried about the ice melting at a very fast rate and their livelihoods being at stake. So why can't people from Himachal Pradesh, why can't people from Rajasthan, why can't people from Chhattisgarh actually take this manifesto up and bring it on as demands in their own Vidhan Sabhas, to their own MPs in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? So we want this manifesto to be taken up by multiple organizations, by multiple cities, and it should be changed to suit what their city needs exactly. But this idea is the one that is important. The manifesto doesn't stop at mentioning the actions that the government needs to do. The manifesto goes ahead and explains the roles and responsibilities of our citizens, communities, and businesses. What is our role as voters, for example, is also mentioned in the manifesto. And my favorite actionable solution for the citizens is, the funny thing or the exciting thing about climate change is we don't have all the solutions. And that's why we need to create more. So if you are a doctor, for example, search for solutions or research for solutions in your own field. If you are into manufacturing, search for solutions or low carbon technologies in your own field. That is what is going to make the most difference. For students, for all the youth around here, for students, what is your carbon footprint and how can you reduce it actually? So that is what we need from the citizen. And also think critically about the real life choices and not being misled by greenwashing. So what is greenwashing is something that you can Google, but it is, in simple words, basically uh, Environment Day tree plantation drives of non-native plants. Is greenwashing. So it is not climate action. So please think critically about your choices and understand. In conclusion, I would just like to say that the fate of my generation partly lies with my generation, but majorly lies with the current generation right now. It is up to this generation, that choices made by this generation, that basically my generation's future depends on this generation, is what I'm going to say. And therefore, we need urgent climate action. We need the help of people. We need to popularize this manifesto and it's urgent that we all should carry forward from this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prithviraj, for that very insightful presentation. It definitely highlighted the urgency for rapid climate action, and I'm sure it left most of us with several questions to answer, which we hope to by the end of this discussion. Let us also now hear from other two young speakers about their priorities as the youth in this climate challenged world and the kind of future they envisage. Over to you, Purnima and Tanmay.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you to all the members here who kind of actually gave me this opportunity to share some thoughts about the Youth Manifesto. And so I'm actually not really going to like kind of comment over it, but I'm going to share my thoughts, which are very much in line with what my friend Prithviraj just spoke about. So it's just that I'm going to kind of reiterate those, but into more actionable points, kind of thing. Because right now we are into climate crisis, as he rightly mentioned. So it's no more about climate change that we talk about, the impacts that are happening somewhere. It's no more about that. It is happening right here, right now, and we all are facing those. So climate change is moreover now climate crisis. So we are in a emergency situation. So it's high time we take action. That's quite clear now. So first things first, I would like to tell all the youth that we really need to feel empowered and hopeful, because it's in our hands to create a sustainable and a better future. So we are really powerful, and as he rightly even as Malik sir rightly mentioned, that we have the energy and we have the right kind of mindset that we can kind of change the things. So we have that power. And I think even as humans, I think we have the power to find solution to any problem any time. Like given any situation, I think we are innovative, we are tech savvy, we are this I call this thing adaptation as one of the superpowers that we have, because we can kind of mold into any situation, we can cope into any kind of problems. But the challenge today is how we can do that in a sustainable and an environmentally aligned way. And I think that for that, I think we need to start activating our adaptive instincts. We need to start learning new skills today, or life skills, I would say. And one of the very basic life skills I think today is to just keep yourselves physically, mentally fit. And I think that's the least we can do for ourselves. It's not only it's going to help us every like even in the current generation and in future, but it will also help us to save people around us, to take care of them in a crisis, in a situation of crisis, or in immediate disasters, because we are going to face them, and we are facing them, as Prithviraj rightly mentioned, that we are in that stage right now where whatever emissions have happened in the past, we have to face those impacts. So we need to adapt to these life skills. And one of the crucial life skills I think we all should adapt to is swimming. I think we all need to learn how to swim. Even I'm trying to do that right now because floods can occur anytime right now. We already know the glaciers are melting and sea levels are rising. So it's like the basic thing that we all should know just to save ourselves. And another very important life skill I feel is, as even he mentioned, that in order to spread the news about this manifesto or the information is communication. And we all have that at the tip of our fingers. I think we all have the access to social media, we have access to our smart mobiles, but unless we start using them smartly and in the right way, I don't think we can reach anywhere. So that's something we all should actually learn and adapt to, because I see a lot of youngsters actually saying that, I'm going out of WhatsApp, or I'm going to shut my Facebook. In fact, I just spoke to one of my colleague, and he just said, I'm going off Facebook. And I was like, why would you do that? I know, like, I can understand there's a lot of information that is flowing through these social media sources, but and that can be overwhelming for anyone. But at the same time, I think these can be really good tools to actually get the real time updates or early warning signals that we talk about in the face of disasters. And I'm glad that Pune has a disaster management cell. I don't know if you are aware of it, but we do have a disaster management cell. We have ward level disaster management plans. But the problem is that we don't know how do they function, especially in the time of crisis. We don't know how do they really work, and in order to make them work, or in order to make such systems, mechanisms strong, I think we should start using communication tools effectively, and that will also in a way solve the problem of politicizing the urgent issues that we are talking about, like how we can get these issues to the forefront of the political agenda or the election manifesto. So that also in a way can be solved because of this. And as he also mentioned that yes, the election manifesto should talk about climate crisis, as it is the biggest threat to humanity, and we should be looking up to leaders who have the capacity to deal with it, or who can actually do something about it from the system's point of view. Because at individual level, though we do a lot, we can do a lot of things, but unless the systems also kind of come together and enable us, I don't think we can go anywhere. So we really need to work collaboratively. All the youth, like everybody, the systems, industries, businesses, everybody have to come together and kind of work in order to make this a urgent issue and take actions. Another thing I would like to highlight is about green entrepreneurship or green jobs. That is something which is kind of the need of the day. And as I said, that we are in a way moving towards a different development trend. We no more want GDP to be the measurement of growth. So if you're looking at other ways of growth, then I think we have a lot of scope in this sector, in the green sector especially. And there are a lot of there is in a way awareness among people about I think environmental friendly lifestyles, climate friendly lifestyles, but those people are kind of helpless, because when they ask for products or they ask for services, they end up following the conventional ways or the normal products that we are using. So I think this is an opportunity for green entrepreneurs to come up and actually take up this as a task, and actually provide these products and services. Our businesses should actually look into this kind of opportunity, I would say. And we at INEC, I forgot to tell you, actually INEC stands for the Indian Network on Ethics and Climate Change. So here we are actually looking at enabling green entrepreneurs or green jobs. So in case if you are interested, you can contact us for that. And lastly, I would like to say that I am a fan of science fiction movies. and I love the way they show the real issues in a slightly imaginative way. But at the same time, I also believe that at the end of the day, there is no superhero coming to save you. You got to be your own hero. You need to save yourselves. You need to get that capacity to actually face the situation, because we just have there's just one earth that we have, and we need to align our whatever practices that we want to follow in the lines of this earth. So that's all I would like to say. So thank you, and you can connect to us on INEC or on Citizens of Sustainable City. We are there on all social media handles, so you can connect to us on that as well. Thank you.
I would now request Tanmay Kanetkar to please come forward and share his views.
नमस्कार. मराठीत बोलू ना, चालेल ना? सो पहिलं तुम्हा सगळ्यांना धन्यवाद मला बोलवल्याबद्दल. आय एम ग्लॅड, ऑनर्ड. आणि या मॅनिफेस्टोचा जो लेखक आहे, जो रिसर्चर आहे, त्याच्यापेक्षा मी 10 वर्ष मोठा असूनही मला यूथ मानून बोलवलं, तर त्याही बद्दल धन्यवाद. या डिमांड ज्या आहेत, प्रायोरिटीज ऑफ यूथ जे म्हणलेलं आहे, त्यातलं मागचं पान खास माझं लाडकं, जे 7, 8, 9, 10 असे जे पॉइंट्स आहेत, जे क्लायमेट चेंज इन गव्हर्नन्स पासून चालू होतं आणि ट्रान्सपरन्सी इन एन्व्हायरमेंटल डेटा पर्यंत जातो. हा माझ्या जिव्हाळ्याचा प्रश्न आहे, अभ्यासाचा विषय आहे, आवडीचाही विषय आहे. आणि मला असं वाटतं की तो खूप महत्वाचाही आहे. म्हणजे पृथ्वीने हायलाईट केलंच की शेवटी बॉटलनेक बॉटलनेक तिथेच येते जिथे गव्हर्नमेंट पॉलिसीजचा विषय येतो, पॉलिटिक्सचा विषय येतो. आणि काही मोजके अपवाद सोडले वंदनाताईंसारखे, ज्यांच्यावर आम्ही खूपदा काम केलंय, तर फार कमी वेळात चांगला रिस्पॉन्स समोरून येतो when it comes to governance. हा आजपर्यंतचा अनुभव आहे. आणि कायमच असं दिसतं, जे आपल्यालाही काम करताना कायम जाणवतं, की एक ड्युअलिटी अशी दाखवली जाते, एक टोकाच्या भूमिका मांडल्या जातात. जणू एका बाजूला आहेत पर्यावरणवादी, जे अपॅरेंटली विकास विरोधी आहेत, आणि दुसऱ्या बाजूला विकासाचे ठेकेदार. जणू यांच्यात एक टग ऑफ वॉर चाललेला आहे, एक रस्सी खेच चाललेली आहे. आणि जेव्हा विकास विरोधी सारखी वक्तव्य होतात किंवा त्यासारखे शब्द वापरून वक्तव्य होतात, तेव्हा नॅचरली लोकांचं मतही बदलतं, लोकांचं मतही इकडे तिकडे जातं. पण माझा असा अनुभव आहे, आणि आय एम शुअर की तुमच्यापैकी प्रत्येकाचा तो अनुभव असणार आहे, जी व्यक्ती काम करते ग्राउंडवरती, की कोणत्याही सामान्य नागरिकाला गोष्टी नीट समजावून सांगितल्या विथ फॅक्ट्स अँड फिगर्स, तर त्यांना त्या पटतातच आणि ते आपल्याबरोबर मदतीला उभे राहतात किंवा कामाला उभे राहतात. आपण टेकडीच्या प्रश्नांच्या वेळी हे पाहिलं की टेकडीवरनं रस्ता म्हणल्यानंतर रस्ता हो पाहिजे असं करत केलं जातं, पण सांगितलं की नेमकं यांनी काय घडणार आहे, की मग आपल्याबरोबर लोक खांद्याला खांदा लावून उभे राहतात. त्यामुळे इथला सगळ्यात महत्वाचा मुद्दा मला कायमच वाटत आलाय की तो आहे ट्रान्सपरन्सीचा, माहितीची उपलब्धता असणं, जो आपल्या याच्यातला 10वा पॉईंट ऑलरेडी या डिमांड्स मधला आहे. ट्रान्सपरन्सी इन एन्व्हायरमेंटल डेटा. माझ्या मते मोठे जेव्हा प्रोजेक्ट होतात तेव्हा कायद्याने बंधन आहे त्याच्या इम्पॅक्ट असेसमेंटचं, की एक्झॅक्टली इम्पॅक्ट काय असणार आहे एन्व्हायरमेंटल इम्पॅक्ट. ते कायद्याने बंधन असतं, म्हणून आय एम शुअर की ते रिपोर्ट्स तयार होत असणार आहेत. पण ते रिपोर्ट शोधणं हा एक प्रचंड मोठा टास्क असतो. मी परवा पौर्णिमाशीच बोलत होतो आणि तिने मला एक वेगळीच गोष्ट सांगितली की बरोबर आहे, ते वेबसाईटवरती असतात, पब्लिक डोमेनमध्ये असतात, पण मध्येच त्या प्रोजेक्टचं नावच बदललेलं असतं. रिव्हर फ्रंट बद्दल झालं ते, आता रिव्हर रिज्युएनेशन वगैरे झालंय नाव त्याचं. पुण्याच्या पाण्याचंही तसंच होतं, आधी 24/7 नाव होतं, आता समान पाणी पुरवठा नाव झालंय. तुम्ही 24/7 सर्च केलं तर तुम्हाला सापडणारच नाही तो डॉक्युमेंट. आणि ठेवलंही असतं कुठेतरी वेबसाईटवरती इतकं कोपऱ्यात की ते सामान्य नागरिकाला मिळूच नाही. मी महापालिकेची वेबसाईट इतक्या वेळा बघत असतो वेगवेगळ्या कामांच्या निमित्ताने, परिवर्तनच्या, पण एखादं डॉक्युमेंट शोधायचं म्हणल्यावर भीती वाटते आधी, अरे बापरे हे नेमकं असेल कुठे, आणि असलं समोर आलं तरी ते कळेल अशा भाषेत असेल का, कारण पत्ताच लागत नाही काय म्हणायचं यांना, अरे भाई कहना क्या चाहते हो. तर ते सुटसुटीत सोप्या भाषेत सामान्य नागरिकाला कळेल अशा भाषेत, सामान्य माणसांच्या मराठी भाषेमध्ये, कारण मग ते तांत्रिक भाषा आली आणि त्याच्यामधले अवघड शब्द आले की मग तिथे निम्मे लोक गळून जातात. ते करणं खूप गरजेचं आहे ना. मला जर खरोखरच कळलं की या पर्टिक्युलर प्रोजेक्टचा, या विशिष्ट एका प्रकल्पाचा पर्यावरणावर होणारा परिणाम काय आहे, आघात काय आहे, इम्पॅक्ट असेसमेंट आहे ना तो, तर त्याबद्दलचं माझं प्रबोधन जास्त होईल. झाडे लावाची जी स्लोगन्स पेंट करतात त्याच्यापेक्षा कितीतरी जास्त अवेअरनेस या गोष्टीमधनं होईल, कारण मला नेमकी फॅक्ट्स अँड फिगर्स सकट माहिती मिळते. ती गोष्ट मला कळेल. मला असं वाटतं की यामध्ये म्हणजे अजून मी सगळा रिपोर्ट वाचला नाहीये, पण जे काही नजरेखालनं घातलंय त्याच्यानुसार मोठ्या प्रोजेक्टचा पर्यावरणावरती होणाऱ्या परिणामांमध्ये ते असतं का नाही मला माहित नाही. मला जे सांगण्यात आलंय ते असं आहे की तो रिपोर्टही बऱ्यापैकी मिळमिळीतच अजून बनवला जातो. तर खरोखरच त्याचा परिणाम काय आहे, त्याच्यात वापरलं जाणारं मटेरियल काय आहे, इथपासनं तो व्हायला पाहिजे, ना की फक्त तिथली 25 झाडं तोडली गेली. कारण कोणतेही अधिकारी सुद्धा अनेकदा आणि नगरसेवक किंवा आमदार किंवा खासदार आपल्यातलेच असतात शेवटी, ते म्हणतात हा मग 25 झाडं तुटली की 25 लावू, झाला विषय संपला. तर ते नगाला नग जोडणं जे असतं ते काही फार योग्य आहे अशातला भाग नाही. म्हणजे 25 झाडं तोडली आणि 25 लावली की प्रश्न सुटला असं होत नाही, असं निदान या क्षेत्रातले तज्ज्ञ सांगतात. मी तज्ज्ञ नाहीये, पण त्यांच्या सांगण्यानुसार तरी असं आहे. तर हा पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह बदलणं गरजेचं आहे. आणि ते बदलण्यासाठी ते फक्त झाडं तोडण्याचा विषय नाही. तुम्ही जे सिमेंट वापरणार इथपासनं, तुम्ही जे मटेरियल वापरणार इथपर्यंत सगळ्या गोष्टी या पर्यावरणावरती कुठला ना कुठला तरी परिणाम करणाऱ्याच आहेत. आणि हे जर कळायला लागलं, ही जर माहिती लोकांपर्यंत इफेक्टिव्हली पोहोचायला लागली, तर मला असं वाटतं की लोकमताचा दबाव राज्यकर्त्यांवरती पडेल, डिसिजन मेकर्सवरती पडेल. आणि शेवटी लोकांचं अमुक मत आहे म्हणल्यावरती मला नाही वाटत की कोणतीही राजकारणी व्यक्ती त्याच्या विरोधात जायचं म्हणून जाईलच. शेवटी त्यांनाही मतं हवी आहेत आपली. त्यामुळे आपलं जर मत असणारी मंडळी वाढत गेली आणि ती अशीच वाढते जेव्हा माहिती पोहोचेल, तर मला असं वाटतं की जो पॉलिसीवाला मुद्दा आहे तिथे आपण कुठेतरी इम्पॅक्ट करू शकतो. म्हणजे मला जर खरोखर माहिती असेल की एखादा ओव्हरब्रिज, फ्लायओव्हर बांधायला किती खर्च येतो हे आपल्याला कळतं, कारण ते माहिती अधिकार कंपल्सरीच आता केलेलं आहे. पण याचा एन्व्हायरमेंटल इम्पॅक्ट काय आहे याचे खरंच आकडे माझ्या समोर असतील तर सहजपणे वक्तव्य नक्की पाडून टाका, चुकलाय जरा. नागपूरमध्ये मेट्रोसाठी एक ओव्हरब्रिज पाडला होता, असं मी वाचलं होतं बातमीमध्ये. सहजपणे झालं ना की बांधून टाका. सिंहगड रोडवरती आता एक फ्लायओव्हर बांधणं चाललंय, तिथूनच मेट्रो प्रपोज पण आहे माझ्या मते. म्हणजे नेमकं काय करण्यात त्याचा पत्ता नाहीये. त्याचा रिपोर्ट मला अजूनपर्यंत दिसलाच नाही कुठेच पब्लिक डोमेनमध्ये. असेल शोधून ती कुठेतरी खूपच्यात लिंक तर मला शोधून पाठवा. पण मला जर माहितीच नाहीये तर मी याला विरोधही करू शकत नाही, याच्याबद्दलचा दबावही टाकू शकत नाही. त्यामुळे तो विरोधासाठी विरोध नाही होणार, तो इन्फॉर्म्ड विरोध होईल. आणि लोकशाहीमध्ये इन्फॉर्म डिसिजन मेकिंग तर महत्वाचं आहे. माहिती घेऊन मी माझे निर्णय घेणं, याच्यासाठी माहितीची उपलब्धता योग्य भाषेत, योग्य पद्धतीने. आय एम ग्लॅड की हे आपण रिपोर्ट मराठीमध्ये पण केलाय. तो जास्त रिलेटेबल वाटणार, जास्त वाचला जाणार. तर माहितीची उपलब्धता, स्थानिक भाषेतली माहितीची उपलब्धता आणि सोप्या भाषेत, नुसतं मराठीत असून उपयोग नाही, ते सोप्या भाषेत. म्हणजे विनियम म्हणण्यापेक्षा किंवा अधिनियम म्हणण्यापेक्षा कायदा किंवा नियम असं म्हणलं तर सोपं जातं. अशा सुटसुटीत गोष्टी खरं करून तर गोष्टी पोहोचवणं गरजेचं आहे. त्यांनी तो इम्पॅक्ट होईल. अर्थातच कायदा आणि याच्यात तर म्हणलेलं आहे की हा राईट म्हणूनच, हेल्दी एन्व्हायरमेंट हा राईटच असला पाहिजे, जे करेक्टच आहे. त्याच्याबरोबर ज्या सिस्टमॅटिक गोष्टी आहेत, म्हणजे नॅशनल ग्रीन ट्रिब्युनलचे जज अनेक महिने नेमलेच जात नाहीत आणि मग तिथल्या केसेस पेंडिंगच असतात. या गोष्टी प्रॉब्लेमॅटिक आहेत. या गोष्टी अधिक आग्रहाने, अधिक प्राधान्याने पुढे आणल्या गेल्या पाहिजेत, मांडल्या गेल्या पाहिजेत. म्हणजे आपला जो विषय आहे की पॉलिटिसाइज करणं, त्याचं राजकारण करणं, मराठीत ऐकल्यावर असं ऑड वाटतं, खूप निगेटिव्ह वाटतं. चांगली गोष्ट आहे ती, राजकारण करणं, कारण चांगल्या उद्देशाने. तर ते करणं गरजेचं आहे आणि ते केलं तर त्याचा खरोखरच परिणाम दिसून येईल. मागे एकदा मला आठवतं की असंच मी राजकारणाबद्दल बोललो होतो आणि मोठी गडबड झाली होती. वंदनाताईच नेमक्या त्यावेळी स्टेजवरती होत्या. पण त्यावेळेचाही मुद्दा त्यांनी मांडलेला, मीही मांडलेला, तोच आपण आज परत बोलतो आहोत. त्यामुळे हे सातत्याने करत राहण्याची गोष्ट आहे, सातत्याने मांडत राहण्याची गोष्ट आहे. जे सिस्टीमच्या बाहेर राहून पॉलिसी मेकर्सशी भांडत असतात, आमच्यासारखे लोक, तुमच्यासारखे लोक. तुम्हाला माहिती आहे, आम्हाला माहिती आहे की हे किती अवघड आहे. याच्यापेक्षा 10 पट अवघड आत राहून भांडणाऱ्यांसाठी असणार आहे, आय एम शुअर. पण ते सगळ्या फ्रंट्सवरनं लढत राहावं लागणार आहे. आणि त्याचा मुख्य मला असं वाटतं की काय म्हणतात त्याची एनर्जी ही माहितीच्या फ्री फ्लो मध्ये असणार आहे. त्यामुळे जितके असे मॅनिफेस्टो तयार होतील, कारण यातनं डेटा मिळणार आहे, यातनं डेटा पॉईंट्स मिळणार आहेत, यातून प्रश्न पडणार आहेत आणि प्रश्न पडले की मग उत्तर शोधण्याची सुरुवात होते. त्यामुळे त्यातून अजून डेटा पॉईंट्स तयार होत राहतील. सो काही पॉलिसी रिलेटेड गोष्टी, एखादी इमारत बांधताना, एखादा प्रकल्प करताना नेमकं काय इन्व्हायरमेंटल इम्पॅक्ट असणार आहे त्याचे तपशील जाहीर करणं, लोकांना सांगणं. शक्य असेल तर ते खरोखरच त्या कामाच्या ठिकाणी माहितीचा फलक लावून, आरटीआय मध्ये खरं माहितीचे फलक लावणं कंपल्सरी, तेही इम्प्लिमेंट होत नाहीत. एन्व्हायरमेंटल इम्पॅक्टचं कधी करतील काय माहिती, पण ते पुश करत राहणं. या गोष्टी आहेत की ज्या आपला जो एक कन्सेन्सस बिल्डिंगचा एफर्ट आहे, लोकमत तयार करण्याचा एफर्ट आहे, प्रयत्न आहे, त्याला तो हातभार लावेल. नाहीतर पॅम्पलेट्स होत राहतील, पण माहिती नाही म्हणून झाडे लावाच्या स्लोगन्सच्या पलीकडे आपण जाणार नाही. तर तसं आपण म्हणजे व्यक्तिशः आपण नव्हे, पण समाज म्हणून. तर ते त्याच्या पलीकडे जायचं असेल आणि कृतीवरती जायचं असेल तर माहिती येत राहणं, पोचत राहणं लोकांपर्यंत, हे खूप जास्त गरजेचं मला वाटतं. आणि मला असं वाटतं की तोच मुद्दा या शेवटच्या 4 पॉईंट्समध्ये आहे. आणि तो जितका आपण हायलाईट करू तितकं जास्त चांगलं. बाकी या विषयातल्या तज्ज्ञांनी तर बऱ्याच गोष्टी मांडल्या, तर त्याबद्दल काही मी फार बोलत. धन्यवाद.
Thank you everyone for that elaborate and eye-opening dialogue. It is very saddening to witness the environmental degradation happening all around us. I mean, like Tanmay, Prithvi and Purnima have mentioned, so many organizations and individuals have taken up different kind of initiatives, to restore the environment, restore the ecology. But somewhere we've obviously fallen short in our efforts. And I would definitely agree with all these three, young speakers that we need the cooperation between the administrative bodies. We need the cooperation within the administrative bodies and local citizens, because without it, it is extremely challenging to tackle such a sensitive issue. Okay, so moving ahead with our program, I would now request Ms. Falguni Gokhale to come forward, who is the illustrator of the book called Making a World of Difference, as we release it on the occasion of World Environment Day. I would request Srimati Vandana Chavan to kindly do the honors. This book on environmental issues is a great initiative to imbibe the sense of respect for our only planet. And Ms. Falguni Gokhale have actually taken the initiative to, and build that sense of responsibility from a very early age. And that is commendable. Please give a big round of applause. Ms. Falguni Gokhale is a visual communication designer from National Institute of Design and is also the director at the Design Directors Private Limited. May I now request her to come forward and share a few words about this book and what inspired her in creating something so commendable, actually.
Thank you very much, Pune International Center, for releasing this book for me. This presentation today, a small presentation, is on behalf of NGO called ICTARA, with whom I have been associated for a very long time. And you can say that this project which I have done is a kind of an informal CSR activity from my company, Design Directions. So, who are we? What do we do? We are a group of women from diverse backgrounds with a common goal. That is, to elevate the position of marginalized girls and women by providing access to quality education and skill building to help them ultimately get ahead in their lives. And we work with 1,300 children and women. The attempt is to understand that every girl child within her context, and to recognize and unleash their unique potential and hone in their individual skills. So, why climate change? Everybody has talked about it. But as an organization that works to educate girls from disadvantaged communities in urban slums, climate change is not a direct part of our mandate. However, As first generation schoolgoers, these children will have a pivotal role in changing our relationship with the environment. And they will also pave the way how future generations can survive and thrive. And it matters. And it matters because UNICEF has estimated that 1 billion children, almost half the kids on this earth, are extremely high risk to climate change. The World Economic Forum reports that a child born now faces 6.8 times more heat waves, 2.6 times more drought, and 2.8 times more flood and crop failures than a person born in 1960, which is what Prithviraj was also saying. The UN finds that 90% of the global burden of diseases linked to climate change is borne by children under 5, and pollution is the most telling fact because 90% children globally are exposed to air pollution. Currently, 82.4 million people have been forcibly displaced worldwide by climate conflicts over land, water, and food. And as their family resources slip away in floods and storms, these children end up working like adults to survive their lost education, locking them into endemic poverty. So at ICTARA, we first launched a Let's Talk Climate campaign, and after that we created this book. And this book was basically to start a conversation on topics that seem somewhat overwhelming, especially for first generation schoolgoers. The content empowers young children, showing them that even small choices can make a big difference. And it is very illustrative all throughout. These books are available free of cost to government schools and non-profits and is accessible to almost 1 lakh children across India. It is also followed by a step-by-step call to action e-guide for all schools and partner organizations. These are some pictures about our Let's Talk Climate campaign. These are some spreads from the book, where what we have done is we've talked about pollution, environment, recycling, everything, and what each one can do at an individual level. And we are very lucky and thankful to our sponsors from Pune to make these books in Marathi and English. That is BOBST, Upendra Degrulkar, the MD is here, KPIT, Tata, Mukul Madhav Foundation, Tetra Pak, and Rotary Club Pune Downtown. So because of them, we were able to print these books and distribute it to 1 lakh children all over India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and all the best for the book. As we move towards the end of the program, I would now request Honorable Chief Guest Srimati Vandana Chavan to share her views on the Youth Manifesto created by the Energy, Environment and Climate Change Group.
Thank you very much and a good evening to everybody. At the outset, let me congratulate and also thank PIC for having taken this initiative to support Amitav Malik ji's initiative and the youngsters' initiative to come out with a Youth Manifesto. I think it's absolutely important because we say that India is the youngest country, and youngest because we have the most youthful population here. And the entire globe, the entire universe is facing a challenge which really is an existential challenge, as Prithviraj rightly said. It challenges the very existence of humankind. And therefore, to have people, especially the youngsters, involved in understanding the issue and not only understanding it, but putting it across to politicians, making it a political agenda is absolutely something that is very, very welcome. I only would like to differ on one small point with all the three youngsters who have spoken. Yes, a lot needs to be done. All our political, politicians need to be sensitized to, apprised of what is happening. But it is not that the government has done nothing. And I wish to deliberately say this because I think if we don't have confidence in our government system, in our governance system, then probably as a citizen we are failing somewhere. And therefore, I would like to say that the first international conference on environment was way back in, and I had not decided to say this, but I just changed my mind that I have to say this because we all, as citizens of this country, need to feel a sense of pride in something that our country has really done. So it was way back in 1972 when the first environment conference was hosted by the United Nations in Stockholm. After that, it was 20 years after that, that in 1992, it took 20 years to meet again, when the leaders of all over the, all countries met at Rio de Janeiro. This is called the Earth Summit, and it was a very, very important summit in which our government played a very, very crucial role. Our then Prime Minister Indira Ji played a very crucial role when she brought it to the front that yes, environment is an issue, but poverty also is a very important issue, especially for a country like India. And it was after this conference that if you see the kind of amendments, the kind of laws that our country passed, thanks to these two conferences, is something very, very commendable. No other country passed an environmental law immediately after these international conferences. It was India who did it first. And I think it's a matter of great pride that we have to see that in I now don't remember the year, but 6 laws were passed after these international conferences. So first in 1972, then in 1992, so 20 years gap. But after that, it was 2 years gap. So New York and then Johannesburg. And then at the Rio conference, the UNFCCC was formed. In the UNFCCC, again, we played a very crucial role. Though, of course, I totally admit, and I also prescribe to your feeling that we need to do much more. But to say that our country didn't do anything, I think we have to correct ourselves a little bit. Not just this, but in 1976, by the, I think, 42nd Amendment to the Indian Constitution, 2 directive principles of state policies were included in the Constitution. If I'm not mistaken, it was Article 48A and Article 51A, which cast a responsibility on every state that it is their endeavor to protect the environment and also the wildlife of our country. Now, at that time, nobody was talking about wildlife. Again, we were the first country to have been speaking about this. So let's carry this feeling of pride that our country has been responding to these international covenants, international conferences. We have been doing our bit, but yes, not as much as we should be doing. Again, I don't know how many of you all know that in 1992, for the first time, the 73rd and 74th Amendment was passed in the Constitution. Now, the 74th Amendment in the Constitution, normally we, especially us women talked on that we got 33% reservation for women. But I think it did much more than that. We all know, we've studied the Indian Constitution in our schools. We know it talks about how the central government should be working, how the state government should be working, the executive, the judiciary. But it never talked about what is the role of local government. And therefore, it was the 73rd, 74th Amendment that talked about right from the municipal corporations to the village panchayat, what is the role and what are the duties of all these local self-governments, which are very, very important. And I say important because it was the Rio conference which talked about Agenda 21, which says that think globally but act locally. So if you have to act locally as far as responses to the climate change issues, to environmental issues, it's fine that the central government makes some policies, makes some rules, makes some laws. But where does the action happen? The action has to happen at the grassroots. If you're talking about garbage emitting methane gas, which goes as a GHG into our atmosphere, where does the action happen? It happens at the grassroots. If you're talking about mobility and transportation, we're going to say that you have to wean off from your private vehicles and get onto a better public transportation system. Then, the central government will make laws and policies. But where does the action happen? It happens at the grassroots. So I think it is a great step taken by our country that the contributions of the local self-governments were recognized and the 73rd and 74th Amendment was brought about. So that is again, I think, a moment of great pride that our country has responded to what exactly needs to be done. Not just this, but when the UNFCCC started taking conferences, again India was the first one to respond. It was during the tenure of Dr. Manmohan Singh ji as a Prime Minister when he came out with the NAPCC, the National Action Plan for Climate Change. Again, Kelkarji could correct me, but I think we were the first country again to respond to such kind of action to be taken by the government, and we did it. We have 8 missions to do with water, Himalayan glaciers, ecosystems, etc., etc. I don't have the list, but we have very, very crucial 8 missions which work in that direction. So to say that our government is not doing enough and not done enough, I think we need to tweak our understanding a little bit that we have been doing. Again, I would say with the corollary that yes, we need to do much more and a lot more. Again, at the Paris Agreement, the COP26, there again, India played an important role. Till then, at the IPCC and UNFCCC meetings, our role as India, a developing country, was always that you don't tell us about our carbon emissions. It's America which has to act first, and they have to reduce their carbon emissions, and we have several issues to handle. We have poverty, we have unemployment, we are a developing nation, and therefore we have a lot of challenges. So please don't tell us to reduce our carbon emissions. Also, our stand used to be, look at the per capita emission of USA. In the Kyoto Protocol, they have never signed. They never ratified the Kyoto Protocol, whereas we signed it, we ratified it, and we said, yes, we will try in that direction. But of course, we didn't make commitments because we had several other, and we still do have several challenges which we have to face. But now, during the Paris Agreement, we have made 2 very important commitments along with the others. One is that we will switch over to renewable energy. We have set a target of so many kilowatts, and by far we have already exceeded the target that we had committed, which is great, isn't it? We committed something at the international level and we have done much more. I think it's a fantastic thing and we are going to do much more. But the second target, or rather the second commitment which we have given is this, that we are going to plant trees to the extent which will sequester 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide. Now, I really don't know how many zeros that means, but whatever, it is a lot. And if that is a lot, I think governments alone can't do this. It's you and me who have to do this. And we will have to start taking actions. So I think it is very important that the governments are doing, yes, we as a community need to push them. We need to make ourselves more aware. We need to sensitize not only the youngsters, not only the citizens, but even the people at the municipal administration who actually handle these issues. Only the other day, Mangesh ji is here from the municipal corporation. I don't know whether there are any more officers. Amitabh ji was there at a program which we conducted at the municipal corporation, and we had about 100 engineers who we invited. And we wanted to know, or rather I wanted to sensitize them that what is climate change? What is it that we need to do to sequester our carbon? What is it that we need to, what kind of steps we need to take? One is mitigation. One is try everything possible to reduce your carbon emission in every which way. And the second is adaptation, which Purnima very extensively spoke about. Things are going to happen. We have already damaged Mother Earth. And if we have damaged it, okay, things are going to happen. Heat waves are going to come in. How do we handle that? Not by putting on ACs, because you're blasting hot air into the atmosphere once again. We have seen, we have started building tall buildings. These tall buildings are heating up during the day because of the heat in the atmosphere. And at night, which used to be cool, is no more cooling. And therefore, this heat again heats up the indoors. And then again, you put on your EC to get comfort. So what are we doing? Why aren't we thinking of adapting? Why aren't we thinking of trying to see whether we have green buildings, whether the material that is used for these buildings is eco-friendly? Why aren't we thinking of age-old kind of plans and designs of avadas, which used to have natural light, natural breeze? I always remember as a kid, my mother said when we were building a new house, west kade windows theva. I mean, it just stuck in my mind. West कडे windows ठेवा का तर तिथून breeze येते. So every room of our house had some kind of projection where west कडनं wind येईल. So I mean, these are things which used to be said. Doesn't happen now. Now what do? We just see whether our building looks good, which locality, which developer has built it, how does it look? If it's a glass facade building, wow, it looks very nice. No, glass facade buildings are not for our atmospheric conditions. Glass facade buildings are for European conditions where they already are very cold and they need to pull in heat. Over here, we put our glass facade buildings and what do? We reduce the temperature, use more electricity, and of course that electricity, somewhere the coal is burning, there again that emission is happening. So this is all connected, but unfortunately I have seen that when you talk to people and say electricity कमी वापरा, त्यांना कळतच नाही connection electricityचा आणि global warmingचं काय. I don't blame them. I think we have failed in sensitizing people. We have failed in reaching out to them. We have failed in communicating to them that this needs to be done and this is what is happening. परत लहानपणीची गोष्ट त्या सांगते की लहानपणी एका खोलीतून दुसऱ्या खोलीत जाताना लाईट बंद करा, फॅन बंद करा, आई सांगायची, आजी सांगायची. We don't tell our children anymore. Probably the children tell us now. थोडंसं बदललंय कधी कधी. So this doesn't happen anymore. पूर्वी टीव्ही असायचा, घरात एकच टीव्ही असायचा. The whole family used to sit around it. Now every bedroom has a separate TV. We didn't have a mobile. Now everybody has a mobile. Chargingला ठेवलेलं असतं. सगळे electrical appliances असतात. Not that we shouldn't use it, not use it, but let us at least realize that what is the kind of consumption that we are doing. So in fact, it has become a fashion in European countries की पूर्वी मोठमोठी घरं असायची celebritiesची. They are moving into smaller houses, just the area of house which is okay for them. Why? Because they conserve on electricity, they conserve on every which way and bring down their carbon footprint. So these are things that we have to start thinking about, and unfortunately they होत नाही. Even महानगरपालिकेनी, I feel very proud. मगाशी मी central government नी काय केलं ते सांगितलं. I also want to tell you what the municipal corporation has done. Not all municipal corporations have done this, but Pune, as most of you all must be knowing that what is the last day of July? 31st, right? 31st of July, every municipal corporation has to come up with the environment status report. Now, Pune is the first city which brought out its environment status report number 1 way back in 1997 when I was the mayor. After that was just a Vispani pustak, छोटीशी booklet hoti. It's okay to begin with. But later now you see it's a fabulous document. But again, we were the first municipal corporation to incorporate a chapter on climate change. त्यावेळेला global warming म्हणून आपण त्याला म्हणायचो. So global warming वर chapter जर कुठल्या महानगरपालिकेने त्याच्या ESR मध्ये घातला असेल तर तो पुणे महानगरपालिकेने घातला. So politicians, do something. Again, Pune is the first municipal corporation, and this is only by our push. No NGO has told us. We would be happy, but politicians ni आम्ही मिळून ठरवलं. So you'd be happy to know this. Politicians do this. So we are the first city again to map our carbon inventory. कुठून आपले carbon emissions होतात. कचऱ्यातून मिथेन गॅस किती होतो, गाड्यातून किती कार्बन डायऑक्साईड एमिट होतं, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जे आपण स्ट्रीट लाईट्सला वापरतो त्याच्यातनं किती इलेक्ट्रिसिटी वापरून कार्बन डायऑक्साईड कुठेतरी हवेत होतंय. द ओनली थिंग विच वॉज नॉट मॅप्ड की पुण्यात येणारे जाणारे विमानं जी आहेत, दॅट वॉज द ओनली थिंग विच वॉज नॉट मॅप्ड. अदरवाइज एव्हरीथिंग दॅट is a contributory to the carbon emission was mapped. Isn't it an amazing thing? And this was done by Terry. So I think we all need to educate ourselves की government ने काय केलंय, what more we need to do. आणि म्हणून sensitizing people, sensitizing citizens is very, very important. I think that's where the youngsters could really make a fabulous mark. कारण it starts right from kachra vibhajan karna. Now there's a law, there's a rule that you have to segregate your garbage. I don't want to ask kiti jana apan ithu karto. Yeah, great. Lot number of hands, but we need to do it. And if we are not doing it, we need to at least create that also create awareness amongst people. रिसायकल करा. आणि आता तर महानगरपालिकेने कंपल्सरी केले, तुम्ही ओला सुका वेगळा दिला नाही तर ते कॉर्पोरेशनवाला तुम्हाला फाईन लावतो. सो इट्स अ ग्रेट थिंग. पहिलं कॅरेट अँड मग स्टिक असं पण अप्रोच दिलेला आहे. सो कचऱ्याच्या बाबतीत वी नीड टू डू दॅट. आज पण आपला कचरा गोज टू द लँडफिल साइट, विच इज ॲब्सल्युटली नॉट डन. So there we need to, as youngsters and all of us together, need to pressurize the municipal corporation that it should not go to the municipal site. There are about 23 biomethanation plants which have been constructed by the municipal corporation. Unfortunately, they are not working to the full capacity. So can we make it a point to see that we pressurize the municipal corporation to see that it is done, and also the garbage in one way is segregated. Transportation button. Yes, metro is coming, but it's not going to take you to all the routes. So say I want to go to Koregaon Park, so I can probably take it from Baner and just reach up to Shivaji Nagar and Pune. I may not have a connection, so I prefer to take my car. So if the youngsters could get together, understand what is actually happening and making sure where is the last mile connectivity, whether we find it or not, and then help the municipal corporation to also work in that direction, I think that is the need of the day. I also remember एक दिवस BRT मध्ये, if you remember, when it started off, there were about 11 deaths, accidental deaths. And I still remember आमचे colleague होते, I was a corporator then, who said की नाही नाही आपण ते लगेच बंद करून टाकायची BRT. Fortunately I was there and I said बिलकुल नाही करायची. आणि का करायची तर 11 deaths झाले. So it was such a simple thing that त्याच्या शेजारी जे barricades होते, that had horizontal members, and therefore children or people were climbing over it, jumping into the BRT route and crossing over. You had to just change the design. Instead of having horizontal members, you had to have vertical members so people don't jump. They केल्यानंतर accidents stop. So there are simple things, but unfortunately, त्याच्याकडे लक्ष जात नाही. So that's where I think also the youngsters need to contribute. Even आपले काही काही फुटपाथ्स मोठे झाले, जंगली महाराज रोडचं फॉर एक्झाम्पल. मोठे झाले त्यावेळेला people had to say की why do we need it now? आमचा motorable way has reduced, but we have to be able to convince them. I mean, it's the chicken first or the egg first. So basically, ते मोठं झालं तर you will walk better, you will cycle in a more safer way, and ultimately you have to have the public transport and not your gadia. So when somebody spoke about flyovers, yes, why flyovers? In fact, we have to think twice की flyovers मध्ये इतके crores of rupees spend करण्यापेक्षा, why don't we buy buses which will take us to the last mile connectivity, or feeder buses which will take us there. So these are things which I think every youngster should form groups for all these verticals and then contribute to whatever the municipal corporation has been decided. Another very important thing is land use. Because buildings, as I said, cities are becoming energy guzzlers. It is said that satellite images ज्यावेळेला घेतली जातात Earthची, त्यावेळेला you see that every city is a heat island. We are emitting heat and carbon dioxide and every which way all the greenhouse gases. How is it that we need to bring down this carbon emission is something that we need to think of. आज आपल्या buildings होत आहेत, green buildings नाही आहेत. So we have to push the government to make sure what are the ways we can have green buildings. That is number one. Secondly, तुम्ही पाहिलं असेल, wherever there's a building happening, there are 2-3 floors that are excavated in the ground. How many of you all have gone close to this site? What do you see? Absolutely. Aquifers are being cut. There's a pond of water which creates there. In fact, University Road ला there was a building त्याचं असंच झालं होतं आणि धबधब्यासारखं पाणी वाहत होतं. आणि some citizen from there called me up to say की तिथं काहीतरी होतंय, पाण्याची लाईन बहुतेक कट झाली आहे. So I sent the city engineer to see it. He calls me up and says, नाही पाण्याची लाईन नाही फुटली, पण तिथं ग्राउंड वॉटर आहे ना ते होतंय. And he treated it so casually. I think it's so important. And ते नंतर I'm sure it has gone into the drainage. But after that, the model colony lake, जितका भरायचा तितका तो भरत नाही आता. That means that aquifer has been cut. In the very building that we are sitting today, I don't blame the builder, okay, because त्यावेळेला हे माहिती नव्हतं लोकांना. समोरच्या बाजूला there is a colony called Vishrambag Society. आणि every plot had a bore well. When this building came up, obviously there's a parking below. Aquifers got cut, I'm sure, because Chaturshingi is behind, and when it rains, those aquifers must be getting formed, and त्या विश्रामबाग सोसायटीच्या प्रत्येक प्लॉटला पाणी देत होते. Those borewells have gone dry today. So, okay, we learn from these things, we learn from our mistakes, but are we going to keep on making those mistakes? We have to stop somewhere. Now, this is something that I have been shouting hoarse at the municipal corporation, but azunhi action झालं नाही. That's where I think I feel all of us youngsters need to get together and stop that happening. खाली जाण्यापेक्षा let them go to मजलेवर, doesn't matter. But that going excavating the ground has to stop somewhere. So these are things which I think are very, very important. We need to address these problems, and if we don't, we are in for absolute doom. People's movement, we save the hills of Pune. There was 1,000 hectares chi zameen. I see Anita here. So all of us together, Tanmay Hota, so many of us got onto the roads, brought people. No other city again has signed 90,000 suggestion. Aarti was very much there. 90,000 suggestion objections. No other city has ever put in to say that we don't want construction on the hills. This was way back in 2004. Only yesterday I learnt from a very senior officer that त्याला आता 20 वर्ष होत आली, म्हणजे 2024 मध्ये 20 वर्ष होतील, आणि 20 वर्ष झाल्यानंतर then the owner can say, I waited for 20 years, you didn't acquire my land, so this is my purchase notice. If the municipal corporation doesn't buy it, and municipal corporation will not be able to buy it because it will be crores of rupees, what happens? We surrender the hills back to the owners. So these are issues I think which are very, very important, and we need to absolutely take it up. Carbon sequestration is another thing. झाडं आपण कापतो, एकाला 4 झाडं लावायला पाहिजे. तन्मय, you spoke about this. एकाला 1 झाड लावून काहीच उपयोग नाही. एका झाडाला 4 झाडं लावली ती पण is not enough. But we have no way, no system in the municipal corporation which actually tells you की एक कापलं पण 4 लावली का. एका झाडाला 10,000 रुपये I think भरावे लागतात. The builder is happy. He says doesn't matter if I don't get that 10,000 back as refund. Let it go, पण मला 4 झाडं लावायला. We should use technology to make sure की ते so that's again where the youngsters I think could come in. And last but not the least, adaptation is absolutely important. पाऊस पडणारच आहे, heat waves येणारच आहेत. पाऊस पडला तर we have seen what happened in Sarkar Nagar. Had we ever imagined as a Punekar that ठीक आहे, नदीला पूर आलेला आपण ऐकलेला आहे, पाहिलेला आहे. Have we ever seen की नाल्याला कधी पूर आलेला आहे? No. And there are societies in which parking was underground. 400 गाड्या तरंगत होत्या पाण्यामध्ये, and others also तरंगत पाण्यातून गेल्या. गुरंढोरं गेली, माणसं मेली, 17 माणसं died in that episode. So this is what has started happening. So even when we are talking about development of the riverfront development, we have to ensure that there will be no flooding because of the intervention that we would be doing. And only if we are convinced as citizens that nothing is going to happen, in fact no floods are going to come because of what they are doing, only then can we give a green signal. So I think that those are other issues which we have to work on, all of us. Last but not the least, की आपल्याला सगळ्यांना आपलं कार्बन फुटप्रिंट कमी करणं हे खूप महत्त्वाचं आहे. At an individual level, at your office, at your workplace, and of course push the government to do that in that sense. I'm very happy to see that PIC under the leadership of Professor Amitav Malik ji has put a lot of technocrats and experts together, young technocrats and others together, to actually map what is happening after the Terry report has happened, after the report by the PIC has been published and tabled, to actually monitor and benchmark as to what is happening and what is the roadmap, how we need to go ahead. But again here I would like to caution that it would not be enough that just us, we discuss these issues and bring it on paper. It's very important that the municipal officers are sensitized to this effect, because if they don't see every project from the lens of climate change, from the lens of what is going to happen, from the lens of how they are going to address mitigation and adaptation, all our reports, all our study will be absolutely useless. So I think we need to start working with engaging with municipal corporation. We need to engage with people, and that's where I feel the youngsters can play a very, very major role. Last, I would like to say, time is ticking. As Purnima also said, and even Prithviraj and Tanmay all have said that time is ticking. We have no planet B. सो एखादा दिवस खूप पाऊस आला, बाणेर बालेवाडीमध्ये राहताय तुम्ही, पूर आला, यू शिफ्ट टू युअर रिलेटिव्स हाऊस, हीट वेव्ह आली, यू गो टू महाबळेश्वर, जाऊ दे, एक आठवडा जाऊन येते, 4 दिवस जाऊन येते. Unfortunately, for our planet, we have no planet B. And therefore, we have to make sure that we take care of our planet, of our Mother Earth. And therefore, I think the theme of this World Environment Day, which is on the 5th of June, is only one Earth. So I think all of us need to send messages, talk to people, create awareness, reach out to people, and tell them that this is what is happening, this is the impending danger. And if we don't do anything about it, forget it. I mean, earlier we used to say our children, and this we need to do for our grandchildren. It is us also now who are being impacted. And as Prithviraj also rightly said, when we talked about climate change, earlier it was, we used to say Himalayas मध्ये North and South Pole ला काहीतरी होतंय. तिथं polar bears and penguins are losing their habitats. But it's not just that anymore. It has reached our houses. It has reached each and every one of us. Glaciers melting there, glaciers falling there means sea level rise. And India is a peninsula. I need not say Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, all these, Vishakhapatnam, all these cities are along the coast. And we have read papers, we have read news which says that they are facing a lot of danger. And probably Mumbai would see South Mumbai going underwater in 2050. We cannot let that happen. So we need to wake up. I congratulate Falguni for this wonderful book, Boluya Apan Sundar Jagasati. I think it's very important to reach out to schools. So again, I would request all the young proponents here that let's take this up as an activity. Let's reach it, because distributing this book is not enough. We need to have a one whole year program where we actually have activities where we make children read, make them do something back home. So this book is wonderful. I think if we have an activity sheet along with this, or activity manual, which we are going to tell Falguni to make, along with this, we could reach out to schools. So I would, Amitabhji, I would request you to lend your youngsters, or you are the youngest member in this actually. So all of us together can reach out schools and create awareness amongst them, and through them to their parents. Once again, congratulations for coming out with this manifesto. I'm sure all the political parties will take it up. It is something that they need to do. Absolutely, I'd write on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this kind and inspiring words, ma'am. It is an honor to have you at the launch of the Youth Manifesto, and which has a great potential to spur rapid climate action. I would now request Dr. Kekar to give his closing remarks.
Vandana, our distinguished chief guest, let me first thank you for giving extremely insightful as well as inspiring address to our conference. My colleague, Professor Malik, who is a very senior and distinguished scientist, but is also a climate is what we call Marathi Zapat Lila commitment. So I want to thank him for bringing out this absolutely outstanding document. And of course, my favorite artist, Kalvin Gokhale, for bringing out, she has done it again. You know, this, I can't resist from telling you that the logo which you see for the PIC was designed by her. And that year she got the Best Visual Design Award, nationally, by CIA, the best design. So she's continuing this tradition of really producing outstanding pieces. But then today I stand here as a more of a, in a way, representative of a problem generation. And I realized that the first time it hit me when I became grandfather. The first time it really hit me about the issue of future of future generation. And now I have two grandsons. One is 15 years old, the other is 11. And every time I meet them, they teach Nana some new ways of doing things in the interest of environment. So, in that sense, this nothing would have more timely than this Youth Manifesto you brought out. And that's right. I liked your inspirational presentation, passionate, and I think I went through carefully, and it's extremely well written. And I hope that we really take it forward with the help of all the brigade parties. If I may, I would want to make only one suggestion for consideration. Two actually. One is this the 35 year below 30% Rajya Sabha. I don't think it really captures what you want to do. What really should appeal to all political parties, every election, 30% tickets they must distribute to people below 35. Then we will get done with it. Not the Rajya Sabha. Action with all this, will probably confirmed it that a lot of things happen at local level. Every level, I think, should bring candidates. So that's one suggestion for consideration if you wish to add. And second suggestion, and I just want to reiterate what Vandana said, in this manifesto, there's nothing about responsibilities by youth. You can't be just demand, if you really want to carry conviction, what to say about what they're going to do. So there has to be some pledges given by the young people. Because that's only, without that, no one's going to give you anything. You have to also make contributions. So, for instance, I just reiterate the point made by Vandanaji, and this is what I'm just telling what my grandsons tell me. That Nana, you must change your lifestyle, reduce your consumption. And they're the one, and the same thing I would pass on this message to you that our manifesto should bring out at the individual level what we will do for consumption style. Because consumption is a source of pollution. That's where the problem starts. So you may wish to think about it and add that. Last point I want to make is that, again, reiterate the point beautifully made by Vandanaji is that our responsibility in the center is essentially in the creating knowledge, creating more data. Somebody mentioned, as you mentioned, more data, more knowledge, more analysis. Because my mentor used to tell me, he says, Vijay, in open societies, more knowledge leads to better policies. So if you want better policies, you must have and that's where I think we have to make contributions to our relations with the PIC. And I'm glad we have started doing this. So finally, it remains to me to once again congratulate Professor Malik and his really colleague for this was one of the best output of last 10 years at PIC in terms of long-term contribution to what we want to do as society. And I hope that we see more often when in our, because what you said is very important to us, and we wish to get more from you, the guidance on this issue, because we have embarked on a very important project, make PMID region carbon neutral by 2035, and it's an ambitious project, and that's where we would like to get from time to time. We'll come to you to get your guidance on what to do. So with these remarks, I once again really congratulate you and your colleagues. Because when I heard first time in the draft, I'm not sure how it works. I'll be very honest with you. I was a bit skeptical, but you have proven me wrong. So thank you. So thank you very much for doing this absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much, sir. The Youth Manifesto is now accessible to everyone, and you may scan the QR code given on the leaflet behind. And our team will also distribute the manifesto after the event. You may also connect with the three speakers, or Dr. Kirkar and Amitav Malik sir, after the event if you want to discuss or share your views on the manifesto. As we conclude today's event, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to our honorable chief guest for gracing this event and making it even better. On behalf of the team of AECC, I would like to thank Professor Amitav Malik for giving us this opportunity to create this manifesto, to Pune International Center for helping us organize this event, and the entire technical team who has helped us putting this together. Lastly, I would like to thank my AECC team, Preeti, Shalvi, Prithviraj, Siddharth, Gangotri, everyone for the timely support and enthusiasm. As we move to the last segment, thank you everyone for joining us today at the launch event, for supporting this manifesto, for supporting the cause, and starting a conversation with your colleagues or friends about climate action, about the priorities of the youth, and as Vandana ma'am has already mentioned, there is no planet B, so protecting and taking a step towards protection of our only planet. I wish everyone a very happy World Environment Day, and thank you for joining us.